You've heard of Ted Bundy. You've heard of Jeffrey Dahmer. You've probably seen the Netflix documentaries, the podcasts, the Reddit threads. But there is one man, confirmed by the FBI as the most prolific serial killer in American history, whose name most people have never heard. More victims than Bundy and Dahmer combined. Active for over 35 years across 19 states. And for decades, nobody was even looking for him. This is the story of Samuel Little. Samuel Little's life of crime began in the 1950s when he was a teenager living in Ohio. He was a drifter, a former boxer, a man who moved constantly, never settling, never staying long enough for anyone to notice a pattern. He was a former boxer, and investigators believe he would knock out his victims with a single punch before strangling them. No weapons, no elaborate traps, just his hands. His victims were mostly women living on the margins of society, prostitutes, drug addicts, women nobody was going to immediately report missing. That was not an accident. Samuel Little chose his victims deliberately. He understood, with terrifying clarity, exactly who society would overlook. Little strangled all 93 of his victims between 1970 and 2005. Many of their deaths were originally ruled overdoses or attributed to accidental or undetermined causes. Some bodies were never found. Think about that. Dozens of women dead, and the official record said accidental. For many years, Samuel Little believed he would never be caught because he thought no one was accounting for his victims. And for a long time, he was right. For decades, he moved across the country, in and out of jail on minor charges, never once connected to the murders piling up behind him. The system kept releasing him. The victims kept being forgotten. He wasn't a genius. He wasn't even particularly careful. He was simply targeting women the world had already decided didn't matter. In 2012, Little was arrested on an outstanding drug charge. A routine DNA test connected him to 3 unsolved murders in California dating back to the late 1980s. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole in 2014. 3 murders. That's what they had. But then the FBI's Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, VICAP, started cross-referencing his DNA and movements against unsolved cases across the country. What they found was staggering. The dots started connecting across 19 states, across 3 decades, case after case after case. They had caught him on a drug charge. They had no idea they were looking at the deadliest killer in American history. Here's where the story gets even more extraordinary. Texas Ranger James Holland, dubbed the serial killer whisperer, began interviewing Little repeatedly from June 2018. During those sessions, Little confessed to killing 93 people between 1970 and 2005. More than 60 of those confessions were matched to victims through DNA evidence and corroborating interviews. How did Holland get him to talk? He didn't threaten. He didn't pressure. He showed Little respect. He listened. He asked Little about his life, his travels, his memories. And Samuel Little, who had carried 93 secrets for decades, started talking. Over more than 700 hours of videotaped interviews, Little produced lifelike drawings of dozens of his victims from memory, haunting color portraits, mostly of black women. He remembered their faces, their clothes, where he met them, where he left them. Decades later, he remembered all of it. In one video, he described a woman he strangled in 1993. "I heard a secondary road noise and that meant she was still rolling," he said, describing how he pushed her body down a slope on a desolate road. He said it like he was recounting a drive, completely calm, completely unbothered. In October 2019, the FBI officially identified Little as the most prolific serial killer in U.S. history, with 93 confessed victims, more than Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer combined. And yet, most people have never heard of him. Why? Because his victims didn't fit the profile that gets media coverage. They weren't young white women in suburban neighborhoods. They were black women, poor women. Women's society had already pushed to the margins. Samuel Little knew this. He exploited it for 35 years. The FBI called it clearly. He wasn't caught because no one was accounting for his victims. That is not just a failure of law enforcement. That is a failure of who we choose to pay attention to. Samuel Little died in December 2020 in a California prison. He was 80 years old. To this day, some of his 93 confessions remain unverified. Victims still unidentified, families still without answers. The most prolific serial killer in American history is gone, and most of the world never even knew his name. If this video made you think, share it. These victims deserved to be known. The least we can do is make sure the world knows their killer's name. Subscribe for more criminological stories.